heart of a modest living room, where soft sunlight filters through partially drawn curtains, a young woman named Mary sits alone, her brow furrowed in worry. Her hands clenched tightly in her lap reveal a profound sense of unease. Life has become heavy for her, filled with uncertainties that swirl around like dark clouds threatening to burst. The narrator steps forward, inviting the audience to connect with Mary's struggle, reminding them that even in our toughest moments, we can still find hope in belief. In times of uncertainty, when the future seems hidden and the path unclear, the Word of God still calls out, "Only believe." The narrator continues, as it says in John 14:1, "Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me." From the shadow of the door, Pastor James enters, his kind eyes radiating warmth. He takes a seat beside Mary on the worn sofa, offering a presence that is both calming and reassuring. The narrator describes how he tilts his head slightly, observing Mary's troubled expression with genuine concern. Mary's sigh reflects the weight on her shoulders as she looks away, lost in thought. She yearns to trust God, but feels overwhelmed by the mounting pressures of her life. The narrator conveys her internal battle, subtly illustrating how doubt creeps in, making faith feel elusive. Pastor James, sensing her turmoil, leans in slightly, speaking with a gentle tone that wraps around Mary like a comforting blanket. He reminds her of what Hebrews 11:1 teaches. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The narrator illustrates how Mary nods slowly, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears, her fear not yet dissipating. However, as Pastor James speaks, he evokes the truth that faith often begins where understanding ends. The narrator highlights this tender exchange as Mary's heart wrestles with the anxious thoughts that plague her. What if things don't change? What will happen next? The confusion and fear looms larger than life. Pastor James offers wisdom that echoes in the atmosphere, a simple yet profound message that if Mary can believe, all things are possible. He quotes Mark 9:23, where it says, "If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth." The narrator reflects on the power of those words, allowing the weight of them to settle in the room, palpably altering the tension. Despite the anxiety that clings to Mary, the narrator expresses the hope that begins to flicker within her heart. Even as doubts continue to knock at her door, she contemplates the essence of faith. The thought that maybe, just maybe, it isn't about having every answer, but about the willingness to trust seeps into her consciousness like a warm ray of sunlight breaking through the clouds. With genuine curiosity, Mary raises her eyes to Pastor James, as if sensing the possibility of clarity. She begins to grasp that faith is less about certainty and more about reliance on something greater. The narrator takes a moment to emphasize this realization. So faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about trusting even when I don't, Mary begins to see. Pastor James nods, a proud mentor, affirming her insight. Exactly, he confirms, echoing 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7 as the narrator reflects, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." This phrase resonates in the air, making the concept feel tangible, almost like a lifeline that Mary can grasp. Slowly, a smile begins to form on Mary's lips as she absorbs the wisdom shared with her. A glimmer of hope ignites within her, and she recognizes that her willingness to believe is a fundamental step forward. The narrator paints a picture of her transformation, noting how the pillows of the couch cushion her gently as she sits up straighter now, hope replacing despair. Pastor James finishes with a reminder of God's expectations. That's all he asks. As the narrator elaborates, quoting Hebrews 11:6, "But without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is." There's a sense of finality in his words, leaving Mary and the audience with a powerful call to action. The narrator prepares for the conclusion, diving into the heart of the message as the atmosphere shifts. Faith does not eliminate trials, but it gives us strength to stand. The imagery of storms and struggles fills the listener's mind, but there's also the promise of resilience. It becomes clear that belief is an active choice, a decision to trust in the one who holds tomorrow. As the scene settles into a peaceful silence, the narrator closes with profound wisdom, urging the audience to reflect. Believe not because you see, but because you know the one who holds tomorrow. They hear the gentle echo of Proverbs 3:5, Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. As the lights dim softly, the feeling of peace envelops the room. The narrator leaves the listeners with an invitation to consider their own journeys of faith, reminding everyone that in the face of doubt, they too can choose to only believe. The scene fades to black, encapsulating the powerful essence of faith as a journey worth embarking on.